Okay, I think the table is stable. I just quickly wanted to hop on here to talk about this Reddit thread that I just saw. Don't mind how I'm wearing. It's just casual, okay? I'm at home today. So I'm seeing here there's like a Reddit thread. Well, they're ranking all of the banks and they're saying, oh, this bank works for me and this one doesn't and da 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 da. But really, people are just getting into banks without really understanding their assets and stuff. So I thought I'd just hop on here to try and like kind of explain the idea of how each and every bank works. Just gonna mention seven quickly. They mentioned Capitec, Investec, Nedbank, FNB, and Standard Bank, as well as ABSA, as well as Discovery. So on the Reddit thread, this person basically addresses that they've had the worst experience with Investec most recently. And from all I know about Investec at the top of my head, it's just been a phenomenal bank for a lot of people. So I'm like actually genuinely confused and surprised to see that, oh, wait, there's someone who has a bad experience with Investec and stuff. So I look into the thread and I find, well, the experience now is tarnishing the image of Investec for them in their eyes. And it's basically just the banker that they got that was terrible. And so now it's tarnishing the image of Investec. So now this person goes on to say, what other options do you guys recommend? And then this guy on the thread also mentions several alternatives and says these are the least worst banks, quote unquote. And then he mentions the seven banks. He mentions Capitec, Investec, Nedbank, FNB, Standard Bank, ABSA, and Discovery as well. So basically, I'm trying to preface this by saying banking is not a one-size-fits-all, and people just join banks because someone said this worked for me, so that means that it will work for you. And that's not what banking works like that. If you've watched any of my videos, you'll realize that's the one thing I say consistently. This person goes on to rank these banks and says, oh, this is 6 out of 10 or 4.5 out of 10 because of this and that and this. And I realize this is because of their personal experience with the bank, and it's not actually founded on the technical aspects of the bank and what it actually offers. So he starts off by saying, oh, Capitec is a great app and it's targeted by scammers as well. This might be an experience thing or it might be a general problem. We don't know, but it's Reddit. So we can't assume that this is factually backed up. Let's understand Capitec a little bit. Capitec is a retail bank. In its essence, its specialization is literally to serve customers, and it is for low to middle class income brackets typically, and it's great at servicing a lot of those people because that's the majority of the country. Shocker. So obviously Capitec would make the most sense as the ideal choice for everyone, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's great for everyone. At the end of the day, the overall recommendation is always like Capitec. People say, nah, I've been using Capitec and it's been great and all that. Sure, if it's working for you, then that's great, but it doesn't mean that it's actually functional to a lot of people. Capitec is kind of a retail bank. That's their specialty. That's why they're better at retail stuff, because they're like a less commercial bank and more focused on customer services, you know. So you find that a lot of people say, Capitec has been working for me, it's great for this and that. And of course, that is because it specializes in retail. That's why it's kind of like the big deal. Obviously, people are going to prefer it because it's customer focused and stuff. You have a person who was using Investec in the original thread, and they are saying that they've had a bad experience with Investec, half rating out of 10, because they have unmotivated bankers. I mean, in its essence, again, Investec is not for the general populace. If you understand Investec, it's more like an investment banking type situation. It's more for corporate banking, and it's a lot more commercial, I believe. It's really not for the regular Joe, like you and me. In the thread, they actually do say that. They don't have all of the comprehensive packages that Investec ideally says that they, want. So they're not like the ideal customer for the bank, and this person basically admits to that. So with Capitec, obviously it's going to have higher ratings, right? This person on the thread, to start off things, says that they are having the worst experience with Investec, only to find out that really the worst thing that is happening to him is that their investment banker is kind of uninterested in their banking. So like they're having quote unquote the worst experience with Investec. By all of the reviews that I've seen so far, Investec is actually a very good bank from what I'm hearing, but this person had a bad experience and just sent out a whole sort of experience to the image of Investec. I just don't think that's a fair thing to say, like, oh, you're having the worst time just because you had one bad experience and now Investec equals bad. And I've noticed a lot of people do this, so I just thought I would shed the light. And so then we have Investec, which is more of a private bank. They deal with a lot of asset management and asset holding. It would only make sense that, of course, it doesn't make sense for a lot of people and it's very expensive. Then we'd have the Nedbank. Nedbank is more of a corporate, but also has like the retail space. However, I would recommend this for like if you're having like a lot of assets and stuff like that. FNB has an asset management team, but it's mainly retail focused, hence the cashback and how it operates and everything like that. Standard Bank is great for asset holders as well. It's one of the banks that is much better at corporate financing and investment solutions instead of retail spaces. That's why it's not popular among people. ABSA is kind of like an overall I don't know, it's just mixed with ABSA, isn't it? They do everything, a bit of retail, a bit of commercial, they like do everything. They be doing too much sometimes. But recently I've been noticing that they are trying to move more into the retail space. They're enhancing their ABSA rewards system. That's kind of cool. And finally, Discovery. Discovery is more of a retail bank, if I'm being honest, but it can also be asset management. But if you think about its essence, you know that it's kind of like that bank that is great for retail people rather than like asset holders, because it's like a fully digital bank, and you don't want to keep all of your millions with a fully digital bank. So I'd recommend a traditional for that instead. So that's it. I basically broke down almost all of the banks we have in the country. There's others too, but I just won't get into that in this video. In essence, this video is just generally about understanding that banking is not a one-size-fits-all. There is specific functions for each and every bank. And if you're going to join it without understanding what its main focus is on, then you're obviously going to be losing a lot of money. Capitec's not the only bank, and we have different needs for each and every bank. So like what might work for you might not work for the next person. Even if they're paying like high fees, it could work for them. Their banking could be set up in a way that is going to support them. Not a one size fits all. That's why channels like mine exist, to like uncover that and stuff. Which bank do you use? Comment down below. All right, bye.